Hi, my name is Scott Provence. Welcome to this TEDx talk on how we can use game-based thinking to take action on climate change. I'm a consultant who specializes in training gamification, which is a fancy term for using elements from games to help people learn. Lately, I've been studying what happens when people lose within a game. And it turns out how we handle failure just might hold the key to how we can save the world. I say this as a professional learning designer, but also as someone who hates to lose. In fact, I hate losing so much that the first time I tried playing a first-person shooter video game, I spent the whole time hiding behind a crate. I knew it was just a game, but I really didn't want my character to die. I was playing this game with my younger brother who had no problem killing his avatar. He'd charge through the level and would quickly get gunned down, but then his character would simply respawn, and he'd immediately be back out in the open again. Sure, maybe he'd lose a few points every time he died, but he was gaining something much greater. He was learning how to play the game, and while I never died, I also never won. Most video game players are like my little brother. They expect to lose when playing a game. In fact, they know that failing is one of the most effective ways for them to learn. It turns out everyone from the American Psychological Association to Columbia University have analyzed the habits of gamers. And many studies have found that those who play and lose games tend to be more emotionally resilient, have stronger relationships, have fewer mental health concerns, and even have higher intellectual and academic functioning. Just how often are these healthy, well-rounded game players losing? Well, in 2014, the rate at which gamers were dying in just one game, a game called Dark Souls 2, was over 150,000 times an hour. That was over 23 times the death rate in the real world. People were dying in one game 23 times more than in real life. So just how much failure can someone learn from? The answer is a lot. Speaking of death and the real world, also in 2014, an author named Naomi Klein published a book exploring the devastating and deadly reality of climate change. It was a reality that Klein herself admitted she had tried to ignore for years. Why? Because she was too scared to face it, and scared of what it meant to charge boldly towards certain death. Well, of course this is a scary topic to think about. I, for one, did a lot of the same things that author did. I scrolled past climate impact studies, I ignored news stories or told myself I'd catch up on them later, but I never did. It was like I was still in that video game, crouching behind that crate telling myself, once it's safe enough, I'll learn how to solve this. This is a common reaction we experience when facing something new. We don't want to mess up. We don't want to look stupid. We don't want to fall behind. This fear of failure keeps us from learning. It keeps us from taking action to help ourselves, to help others, or to help the planet. Why? Writers like Klein have a surprisingly simple answer. We have not done the things that are necessary to lower emissions because those things fundamentally conflict with deregulated capitalism. Real progress toward climate change must be a selfless global effort. And yet, we are trying to make this selfless effort within a system built on domination, competition, and a very basic motto: grow or die. No wonder I hid behind that crate. Everyone and everything I've learned in my society, all of the 20th century behaviorists, all of the American education system, all of the titans of industry were telling me I had to make the most basic, human, and economically selective choice: grow or die. Grow or die. Grow or die. Which do you choose? And make no mistake, our globalized industry is constantly asking you this question, and we are answering it within our daily actions. What's more terrifying is that even the seemingly progressive march toward things like clean coal or carbon credits is still masking the same fundamental question as we weigh the price of our planet's future against the price of our portfolios. Do you want to grow, or do you want to die? Is there any part of our world where this question does not apply? There is one. When you play a game, you step out of a world chanting grow or die, and you, for the briefest instant, take up a new mantra: grow and die. At least that's what good game players learn to do. They consistently beat poor saps like me who aren't willing to embrace the one part of life where it's okay, even essential, to fail. Look at any type of game and pro sport and you'll find some of the highest rates of failure you can imagine. Take Major League Baseball. In the 220,000 MLB games played, guess how many were considered perfect games, in which one team didn't let a single person from the other team reach first base? Only 23. That's a failure rate of 99.99%. Do you think a failure rate like that would survive in any other part of society? So what's the takeaway? Can we bring a fail-first gamer's mindset out of the Xbox console and into other parts of our lives? Yes, we can, and many people have. People have used gamification and game-based thinking to solve all sorts of real-world problems. For example, a group of gamers used the online puzzle game Fold It to advance our understanding of the AIDS virus and solve a 15-year-old problem in just 10 days. Can we bring the same fail-forward thinking to solving the massive problems of climate change? Again, yes, but it won't be easy. For years, we have seen nations deadlock and stall climate change negotiations based on selfish economics. Those who benefit from our capitalist system do not want to reduce their footprint because capitalism rewards those with the biggest footprint. And as long as that's what matters, developing countries fall in step to try and stay relevant, increasing production and pollution all in the name of growth. We have reached a point where climate change is not, as Klein says, an issue to add to the things to worry about next to healthcare and taxes. To address this, we must take a hard look at what it means to be human, and perhaps we can find an answer in how we play. We need to bring a player's mindset from the board game out into the rest of our rapidly dying world. In order to undertake this magnitude of change, we must recognize that it's time to cast off old models, even though doing so goes against our grow or die way of thinking. Capitalism might feel like an inborn trait, but there's an even deeper, more instinctual response we have as human beings. Before we learn to say grow or die, we playfully asked, how might I die and then grow? Any gamer knows that there are times when they might have to give up their coins and move back to an old checkpoint in order to learn how to handle what's ahead. It's been a pleasure talking with you and sharing some of these initial concepts about how we learn through failure and play. I urge you to think about what things in your life you apply grow or die thinking to, and where you might think, how can I die and grow? Both reactions exist within you. One is the product of 19th and 20th century economic indoctrination, and the other is an instinctive and joyous reflex we share with most other animal species. Let's find a way to use this reflex to help keep those species alive. Thank you so much for your time.